I suppose that I've been fortunate enough, or unfortunate enough as the case might be, to have witnessed two or even three successive, albeit aborted, chapters of Arab revolutionary uprisings across much of the MENA region. Think of Tunisia, Egypt, Libya, Syria, or Yemen, and then also of Lebanon, Iraq, Sudan, and Palestine. I've also been fortunate, or again unfortunate enough, to have witnessed the more recent chilling wars in Gaza and Lebanon, and the sudden, let alone rapid changes in Syria that are inexorably resulting in uncertain, albeit tectonic changes across the region too. And as a modest amateur of social media, I've spotted numerous images depicting the pain and suffering of so many people, men, women, and children, across these countries as they were sacrificed on the altar of self-preservation, aggression, interest, or impunity. And every time I've witnessed such events or seen such images, I've recalled the Lebanese poet Khalil Gibran that out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars. But despite this plethora of images and video clips, one image recently haunted me in a way that no other had, at least consciously. It is the photo of Dr. Hussam Abu Safiye, the medical director of the Kamal Adwan Hospital at Beit Lahia in northern Gaza. A lonesome figure, wearing his white medical gown, was walking toward an Israeli tank amidst the rubble that once was his hospital and which Israel had destroyed as it described it a haven for terrorists. Use your search engine and you can find the image easily. It is an iconic one of loneliness and bravery, interwoven in an almost organic manner. A doughty medical man walking frontally toward his persecutors and enemies, perhaps even his torturers and judges. Paraphrasing St. Francis of Assisi, I'd suggest that this Gaza medical man started by doing what's necessary, then he did what's possible, and suddenly he was doing the impossible too. But there was one stubborn question that I kept asking myself last week as I looked at this photo over and over again. Why did it impact me so much when I'd probably seen a myriad other gruesome or evocative mass images over 2 decades of proud suffering, the victim not yielding to the victimizer? Without going into any Jungian references here, I think the reason is most likely to be that this lonely walk from hospital to tank, from a place of healing to a place of destruction, by this solitary man epitomized for me the personal and the collective bitter realities of Palestine, fusing once more as they've done over the past 15 months, and by proxy, I'd argue, bonding with all the suffering in the MENA region too. Being humiliated, beaten, attacked, aggressed, both in the person and property, in an almost malicious, malevolent, or malignant manner, has been the unhappy reality of Gazan and West Bank Palestinians. For decades, they've been pummeled in Gaza. Their lands have been razed to the ground, their hopes squelched pitilessly, and yet their pride abides, the pride of the individual and of the collective, in a belief that simply cannot be wrested from them. And what is this belief, by the way? It is an inveterate conviction embedded in the Palestinian political DNA that they deserve their own human rights on a par with that of their Israeli counterparts. And for this reason alone, if for nothing else, they've done what Confucius said, namely, that our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. In other words, in the more modern words of the English writer H.G. Wells, if you fell down yesterday, stand up today. Mind you, it is good that the world still manages to hear honest and honorable voices, the likes of Francesca Albanese, Omer Bartov, Mustafa Barghouti, Ori Goldberg, Owen Jones, Diana Buttu, James O'Brien, Bassem Youssef, or Noura Arekat, alongside think tanks and human rights organizations such as Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, Yesh Din, J Street, Ad-Damir, or Ecclesia that advocate for legitimate Palestinian rights. The world owes them a huge debt, if only for their patience and perseverance against the odds. But the truth is as obvious for me at end 2024 as it was in 1967, 1987, 2000, 2008, 2012, 2014, 2021, and, well, you get the message. What is necessary for the global north, the governments that close their eyes and look the other way often, or the official media that misrepresent facts, is to desist from supporting Israeli genocidal or oppressive policies against Palestinians, let alone also against Lebanese, Syrian, Yemeni, or other Arab populations, and to recognize that the world robbed Palestine of its legitimate rights, and that these rights should be restored at long last, so that the Israel-Palestine conflict is finally put to bed, and then peace can be ushered into the whole region. And that includes, by the way, let me be clear, a secure Israel in its pre-1967 borders according to international law. But this pressure cannot be mounted by Western or European governments or a selectively biased media alone. It also has to be exercised by Arab countries too. Over the past 15 months of the Gaza war, and with some bold exceptions, I've heard the occasional talk of an Arab ruler here and there against Israeli policies, but I've rarely seen the walk yet. Will the Arab regimes wake up to the fact that their populations think differently from them? And will the West, us, you and I, finally drop the colonial and post-colonial nostalgia, submit to the therapeutic pangs of conscience, forego the hold that Israel has on them, and walk the talk too? The ICJ, the ICC, UN agencies, Médecins Sans Frontières, the Norwegian Refugee Council, the World Council of Churches, and also Pope Francis himself, they are a resonant moral voice. But what is also required is the commensurate political pressure that will make a difference and stop the atrocities as we witness them every day in Gaza. So my end-of-year thought is that the whole MENA region, with few exceptions, is in a bit of a mess. And Palestine is in a whole lot bigger mess. But since I'm known by friends as a pesoptimist a la Emil Habibi, let me end this YouTube 2024 epilogue by mashing into its reflections the one and only Martin Luther King Jr., who observed wryly once, and I quote here, "But I know somehow that only when it is dark enough can you see the stars." Well, it is dark enough, and the stars are there already. And the likes of Dr. Hussam Abu Safiyi, amongst many, many others, like Dr. Ghassan Abu Sitta, who was a medic in Gaza too, have seen them. They could even be the stars themselves, given their luminous courage and humility in the face of adversity. So, ask yourselves, as I ask myself, is it not time for us, men and women of goodwill, good faith, and human decency, to rub our eyes and see the stars again?